Resident Evil.
Revelations 2 is the sequel to Raid Mode. This is called that, the sequel to Raid Mode. No, let's go back, okay? Just like the original Revelations, there's a campaign, and it's separate from the Raid Mode. The campaign is much, much better than the Revelations 1 Raid Mode is. It's still nothing too fancy. The graphics still seem like they were originally designed in Revelations 2 to be a 3DS game, and they just decided screw that, and they just brought the remaster out just before I even really bringing out the 3DS game. So the graphics are definitely have a last gen or even further back feel to them, but you get to play with Claire again. You get to play with Barry, who's finally, well, he was in Resident Evil Goddamn or whatever, or some stupid Game Boy Color game, but you get to play with Barry, and then you get to play with Barry's daughter, Moriah. Was it Moriah? And then there was a little girl, I don't forgot her name, but there was this weird sort of dynamic. Basically, you know, you could still play it 2 players. You could not play that shit online 2 players, which was, I thought, was terrible. They wanted you only play it split screen, which I thought was really bullshit, because for years and years we had been, you know, playing 360 games. You know, you just get 2 monitors and you system link that shit, or you just play with your friend over Xbox Live or, you know, PS Now or whatever the hell it was. But you couldn't do that, which was real bullshit. But, you know, you bring your friends over to your house, and then you play a split screen. But anyway, basically, player 1 would be a Shooty type character. So Claire and Barry, they have the weapons, they blow shit up and all that sort of stuff. The Mariah and the little girl were more of support characters, and so Mariah, I think she had a pipe or some shit. A lot of times what you got to do is, and I think the little girl could just point, and she could point out invincible monsters and some other cool things, or if there was stealth sections, she could go in there and, you know, identify the monsters so that Barry could shoot them. It was some weird, unique play that forced you to work together, and I actually liked it a lot. I even liked being the support characters, even though you end up kind of trolling the enemy and the other doing stupid shit and pointing at them at their dicks or whatever. But, you know, that's what the game was. It was actually good. The story has something to do with some Wesker clone nonsense, whatever. It's okay. It's pretty good. It's worth playing it just for the story. But I didn't like that you couldn't play online with another person. And I don't think on the PC version, I don't know. I know that people were trying to hack a fix in, but they had the split screen disabled, which was freaking bonkers. Overall, they released this game as an episode format. They were experimenting. Clearly, Capcom was experimenting to see what kind of torture they could put Resident Evil fans through. Kind of like what Shit Fighter 5 today. But they released it in episodes, which was absolutely unnecessary. The 3DS Revelations 1 had episodes, because I guess the point was to play through an episode and they wanted you to take a break or whatever it was. But they were all together, and they just would review the episode, whatever it is. Capcom thought that they could release these episodes at $10 a piece, or I don't even think it was 10, I think it was $5. Over like once a week or whatever it was. And then, so we're hyped. I've literally bought an extra Xbox One because that's pretty good fun with Revelations 1. And so I have 2 Xbox Ones, and we got, you know, I have to go through the campaign on both of them, on both accounts to get caught up, because they had locked out raid mode until you beat the campaign, or, you know, features of it anyway. And so we're having to wait for these episodes. On top of that, I think online was just period being borked up on the raid mode. And then on the PlayStation, you had there was some frame rate hitches that had to be fixed. Because it wasn't running a solid 60. It should have been, you know, when you're talking about PS4 and Xbox One, should be able to run this 3DS fucking game at 1,000,000 frames, and they were fucking it up. And then they were throwing in microtransaction, like you could buy extra men on Revelations 2. I think Revelations 1 raid mode was a little too hard. There was a lot of one-shot giant fat guys that they just got to you. They would just kill you in one hit. It doesn't matter how strong you were or how good you had done up to the end. If you fucked up a little bit, you died. And so I guess their attitude was just to add a bunch of extra men or some shit, and then you could buy extra men with microtransactions. It's all bullshit. It's typical Capcom bullshit. Seeing what they could do, seeing what they could get away, instead of making the best game possible. Let's see how we can monetize it. That's something with EA crap. But Raid Mode 2 has several advantages over the first one, and there's a couple of major disadvantages. There's a shit ton of levels. They took, I think this is off the Resident Evil 6 MIT engine or whatever it is. So they were able to just copy paste in a whole bunch of areas from Resident Evil 6. Resident Evil 6 is a giant game, and so they brought these areas over, and so there's a lot more areas to play in, and to hide, stash, loot, and monsters of various types and all that other stuff. The zombies kind of fall together in pieces like they do in Resident Evil 6. And that's really good. And there were a ton of characters. Like you got basically all of the important units: Chris, Leon, Claire, Jill, and then several other characters. They're all in there. They're all playable. The problem I had with it is that they kind of felt like not so much characters. They felt like skins over top of just like a blank model or whatever it is. And so they didn't have as many variations of customizable moves and stuff that Revelations 1 had. So I don't remember if they could gain levels and put points in the things. I think once you got them all leveled up about the same, they were pretty much the same character. If I remember right, I don't remember exactly how that ended up being. But the weapons and stuff were exactly the same as Revelations 1. There wasn't hardly any new weapons or anything added in. There's very much something still missing as far as you're grinding and doing shit. You're just doing the same stuff over and over again. And even with more levels, it still got old. It's weird that they done it like that. But that's just, kind of how it ends up being. And I think where it really fell apart for me is that there was no ultimate goal to work toward to. You'd max your character out and you'd run through all the levels, but there was no like super ghost ship that you needed to bring in the best shit you had to just go and fight and play with. And so it's kind of, I guess you would call it an end game, even though the whole raid mode's an end game. It's missing that ultimate test, the ultimate test to the shit. Freaking Dracula's castle or whatever it is, it's not in there. And so you're gaining all this shit and you're doing all this stuff, and it's kind of like, for what? Why are you doing it? And so it's like sad. It ends up being sad. And I'd spend all this money on Xbox One, extra Xbox One, and ended up not being satisfied with the game. It still looked much better than the Revelations 1. It's just missing. It's missing something there, and I'm still hoping that there'll be a Revelations 3, whatever, that will figure out where Revelations 2 just kind of lost itself or whatever. But whatever the fuck it is. So we're gonna give it. Big Kitty's gonna give it the paw up. She liked the campaign, although it was a little frustrating that you couldn't really play it online. Maybe they added that in the patch. I never heard that being added though. I never heard of them adding it in. It's like they determined that this game was going to have not much a budget, and fuck it. Brian felt disjointed. He was very, very mixed on it because he wanted raid mode to be this next big thing, and it just was just a freaking afterthought in this game. It's like, okay, it's not really a big improvement on the first Revelations. It's more of the same. The characters seem to be lacking personality. They seem to be skins as more than extra characters. And Brian was not happy with where it went out. I'm sorry, Brian. They can't all be winners, all right? Oh. But one paw up. I think this game's still fairly cheap to get. You might have to take a look and see if they sell it still in pieces. If you could buy it, there's like one part of it is like $10 for 4 skins or some shit. Don't buy that part. It's like you could get like the buy the little episodes or whatever, and you get all that you really need. And if you can get this for $10, it's still worth it. The campaign's worth it at the very least. Some people really like the raid mode. I didn't think it was all that hot at all.